These past few months, we have all been learning a lot about video platforms, usually Zoom. Our new phrase is that we are Zooming. And we know that some people Zoom more in their professional lives these days than others. And one thing you may be facing, or you may have already had and may have again, is a Zoom hearing. So this webinar is especially focused on what to do, how to prepare if you have a Zoom hearing, a court hearing, somewhere where you're going to be on screen with your attorney, the other attorney, maybe the opposing party, and the judge or some other court personnel. And you're wondering, how do I prepare for that? I want to put myself in the best light. What do I do if I have a Zoom hearing? These tips should also be applicable if you have a Zoom meeting, whether it's a business meeting or maybe you're running an office meeting for some clients. Maybe you just want to make sure you have the best Zoom protocol and experience for when you're Zooming with your friends or family. So this webinar is for you. We're going to talk about everything from where you should be to what you should wear to how you should act. So with that, I'm going to jump in. I'll also note to put questions. You can put questions in the chat or in the live stream video chat if you're watching this live, and I will answer questions if we have any come up during the webinar. So I am going to do something called sharing my screen. Right now, the Zoom is on video, so it's all on the webcam view. I've turned off everyone else's videos just because you may be joining the Zoom video, but you may not necessarily want your video on Facebook Live, which I totally understand. So for today's webinar, we've hidden the other videos. And sometimes someone who's presenting might share their screen. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you all some tips that I've put together. And when I do that, you will see I'm going to specifically share today and show you how to present, but normally I would have the presentation already up there and going. So you see right here, I'm in Doodle Slides, and then I press present. So that's a little tip if you're somebody who is presenting in the future. And I just have a simple slide. If I'm presenting, I like to keep it simple so that people can read what's going on. Normally in Zoom hearings, though, you're not going to have a slide. Although if you are an attorney and you're showing something, sharing your screen can be a really great way to show exhibits if you need to do that. So here's my first tip for you. Pick your background. And I know that may seem like a very simple, basic step, and it is, but it's so important. It is nice to keep your background neutral and clean. So you'll see I'm in my office today, and I've picked these wooden doors behind me as my background. It's neat, it's clean, there's no clutter, there's no other people behind me. I know if you're in your home, you may be thinking, well, what, I don't have that many places, maybe you have children or at the home, or maybe you're in your kitchen. Where do you go? I'll tell you first, don't go in the bedroom. It just looks very informal, and we want to stay out of the bedroom. So definitely don't be sitting in your bed, but I would say you don't even want to be in your bedroom. If you are in your bedroom, maybe if you have a neutral wall, you want to make sure the bed is not in the photo. It's just sort of a weird image. It seems a little too personal for a hearing. Some places that I find work well are kitchen tables, sometimes a desk if you have one, or even an open hallway with a nice big, neutral background behind you. I'm gonna stand up for a moment and show you some other places in my office that I debated and why I didn't go with them. And you're gonna get a little sneak peek of maybe how I need to clean off my office today. So I am sitting today facing kind of the wrong way on my desk, because usually I sit over here. But you can see when I do that, I have, there's a bunch of stuff going on in the background. There's my diplomas, there's a door right there, there's different colored walls. It's just a lot. You can see some paperwork. If you turn it this way, you can see that while there's a nice window there, there's also this laundry basket of things that I need to take home. So while I need to clean up my background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here. And in doing that, I have this nice neutral background behind me. I will also tell you that pay attention to your lighting. You want to check your video to make sure people can see you. Right now, I have an overhead light. And this is what happens if I turn my overhead light off. You can see it's still okay, but it's a little shadowy, a little darker. If you have an overhead light like that, it's nice to turn that on if you're able to just give yourself a little more light. My next tip for you is to get close. One of the most common things I see when people are Zooming is that they stay too far away. So even this is closer than some people. Some people will be way back here. And it makes you look a little disengaged. For one thing, we might not want people to see our entire body, but when you're Zooming, the part you want people to focus on is your face. And so you want to pull up to the front of your chair. And I'm welcoming some people into the waiting room. It's great to have you. So you want to pull up to the front of your chair and you want to frame your upper torso and your head. So, about mid shirt to the top of your head. That's really what you want people to see. A good frame of reference is from shoulder to shoulder. Should take up about 50% of the screen. And I'm not doing a great job of it now, but you want to center yourself if you can also. So that just makes you look present. It makes you look like you're really part of the conversation, you're engaged, and people naturally view somebody who's a little closer like this as more engaged in the conversation. And that's what you want to look like. Next, our third tip is to dress it up a little bit, and kind of the Zoom dress up that we've all been hearing about. The nice thing about Zoom is that it is easy to look professional on a Zoom call. You really only need to worry about your shirt and your hair. Definitely you can put on a little makeup, some earrings, some jewelry if you want to, but I say focus on the shirt and the hair. When in doubt, I go for solid colors. So as an attorney, a lot of times for Zoom hearings, I will wear a jacket, which I have on today, but I can show you, I have sort of a nicer t-shirt under this, and even this can look very nice. It's a solid color. I'm just going to pull myself up to the screen like this, and it looks perfectly nice, presentable, and clean. So even if you just want to put on, a plain black t-shirt, white t-shirt, pink t-shirt, whatever you have, just make sure there's no stains on it. And again, solid colors work really well. You also want to make sure you look presentable. Your hair is the thing people are going to see the most in terms of your appearance. So no need to do a pedicure. You can wear your flip-flops. You cannot wear shoes. Feet don't matter, but your hair does. So make sure you brush it. If you have longer hair, sometimes it's nice to just pull it back in a low ponytail like this, especially if you're someone who tends to pull on their hair and kind of, fuss with things. It's a good idea to just pull it back, and that way it's out of the way. You're not going to mess with it. Things like that can be distracting. If someone's sitting there, if I'm sitting there going, oh, messing with my hair, that's distracting. Somebody's going, oh, I like my part there. Maybe I want to move it over here. We all have a tendency to do it. And so I'm going to show you now. I'm going to pull it back like this. And then you're not going to have that temptation during the Zoom call. So I'm going to put my jacket back on as we continue. Next tip, and I can tell you there are 8 tips here. My next tip for you is to keep your face focused. Now, I will tell you, this can be one of the harder things to do. You want to try and maintain eye contact with the video screen. And so that means, if let's say your phone is ringing, my phone's ringing right now, and I look down, you can see me doing that. If I have 2 monitors and I'm looking up here, doing something with my monitor, you can see me doing that, and it's a little distracting. It looks like I'm not engaged. So if you have a camera in your computer, which many of us do these days, people will say to try and look at the camera, at the recording device, and that's a good idea if you can. I can tell you, I am usually not able to keep looking at that little computer at the top for too long. Generally, as long as you're looking at the computer screen itself, you're usually good. You want to try and keep your eye contact higher up. So I know at the beginning of this, I actually wasn't doing that. I had a little video of myself, some notes, and I had them near the bottom of my screen, so I was looking down. If you have something you're looking at on your own screen, move it up near the top and try to keep your face focused where your video is. The other thing to remember is that slight facial expressions, because you're up close and you're pulled into the video, slight facial expressions can be really noticeable. So let's say if my eye's a little dry and I'm like, oh, let me roll my eye and try to get it out. That can look like I'm rolling my eyes. Or if someone says something that upsets you and you go, people notice that maybe a little more than they would in an in-person court hearing where there's a little more going on. So you want to, really keep it in check. This is a hearing. It's a professional appearance. Even though you may be sitting in your living room or at your kitchen table, you want to stay professional. So if you have, if something's annoying you, I say write it down. You can clench your hands. You can, something like that. But you want to try and keep it out of your face. It's also easy on Zoom, unfortunately, to look a little angry or zoned out. A lot of us will start looking at the screen, we'll tend to, you're not focusing on being recorded. You get those computer eyes where you are staring at something else, and other people can think, oh, they're angry, or oh, they're not looking at me. So stay engaged. Sometimes a little smile on your face, just a little smile is nice to set if you're not the one talking. You also sometimes, you can nod a little bit. During Zoom hearings, you can't go, we'll get to that, but you can't really talk that much if somebody else is talking. So just look engaged. A little nod, a little smile goes a long way. Another tip that's not on the slide, but you really do want to pay attention, especially if you have glasses. And I'm going to show you with my sunglasses because I don't have real glasses. But if you have glasses, people can see in the screen what is on your screen. They can see in your glasses what's on your screen. So especially if you have glasses, you want to be sure you don't open any other windows on your computer or phone, whichever one you're using. You can Zoom from both your computer or your phone. But if you have another tab open, people are going to see that. So, keep your Facebooking, your Minecraft, your whatever, your Amazon shopping, whatever it is you're doing, keep that off the screen because people really will be able to tell you, if you're not paying attention. Now, the next tip is that you're going to need to wait your turn to talk. On Zoom and on other video platforms, you want to keep yourself muted unless you're talking. There are so many things that can interfere with the Zoom audio. On Zoom, if two people are talking, you usually can't hear either of them. So what happens is that neither one of them is heard. So you want to keep yourself muted. That way, if there's a little background sound, and sorry for being distracted right there, I'll tell you, I had a little comment in the chat bar that just had a little question for later. So I was looking at that. Sometimes the host might do that, and you have to give them a little moment to do that. So you want to keep yourself muted. And it may be a little weird, but in Zoom, if you want to talk, sometimes you need to raise your hand. It seems a little bit like school, but you might need to raise your hand for someone to call on you, just so they know you're talking. You don't want, it's weird to turn on your video and then say, oh, I have something to say, and maybe you interrupt the judge or you interrupt somebody else. So just raise your hand and expect that the judge will call on you for your time to talk. Also remember, you need to be patient. In video calls, it can take longer to listen to people in the video calls, because people might have to turn on their audio and then turn it off, and there's a little lag time between the between people talking. So just be patient and really try to keep that patient looking expression. And then when it is your turn, what you want to do is speak loudly and clearly. So you want to just keep your voice up and make sure you're very clear. I am going to actually right now turn our chat off, just because I see people kind of chit-chatting with themselves. And as the host, it can be a little distracting to see people on the side chatting. So a lot of times during hearings, actually, you will see that chat will be turned off. You usually won't be able to do a chat while you're in a Zoom hearing. Next tip is that you shouldn't be afraid to ask for a minute to talk off video. Now, this is very, very important right here. If you're in a hearing and it's about your case, whether it's a family case or a criminal case or a DCFS case, whatever it is, you may have questions for your attorney that you want to ask in the middle of the proceeding. And if we were in court and we were all there physically, you could just kind of quietly turn to your attorney, maybe whisper a question, maybe you could write a note. You can't really do that in a Zoom hearing. So what you want to do is, first, if it's a question that needs to be asked right then, don't be afraid to ask for a moment to talk to your attorney privately. Usually at the end, the judge will say, does anyone have any questions? And it's okay to say, I do have a question for my attorney. Can I email you a question before the hearing ends? Or can we have a moment to talk privately and you can talk on the phone with your Zoom on mute? You want to make sure it's on mute. You do want to be careful of asking questions that everyone can hear. For example, if it's if you're in a family case and you have a question for your attorney about, maybe about an issue you see with the parenting plan, but something you might not want the other side to hear, because maybe it's not an issue, maybe you don't want to have them know what you're talking about. Remember that if you ask a question in the middle of a Zoom hearing, everyone is going to be able to hear that. So just use common sense and save your questions. And that goes to our tip number 7, which is take notes and follow up. I like to keep a notepad handy when I am on a Zoom conference, so that way I can take notes of what's going on. I can take notes of questions. Since you are not able to all talk as quickly and at the same time, I like to take notes also of what I want to say when it is my turn to talk. And then if you have a question you didn't need answered during the hearing, but you still have a question for your attorney, I suggest sending your attorney an email right after the video hearing with any remaining questions or any clarifications. Now, the last note is an important one to remember, and this is for anyone who's doing any video hearing, and that's to remember that tech issues happen and just stay calm. So if you get in and maybe you can't hear other people or you can't see other people, communicate that to the group calmly. Try and say something, see if you do get any response. You might have to restart. If you have to restart and you're running late, send your attorney an email so that they know to expect you. It's okay to raise your hand and say, I didn't get that. Can you repeat that? Your tech went out a little bit. Sometimes other people's audio goes out and they don't realize it. And unless you step in and say, hey, can you repeat that last sentence? They might not ever realize that you couldn't understand them. Also, be understanding and patient if other people ask you to repeat yourself, or if you have to wait for others to join the call. We all have our tech issues days, and just because your tech is working one day doesn't mean somebody else is, and you always want to appear calm and patient and professional in your Zoom calls. If you have any questions about anything from this webinar, you can contact us at shererlaw.com or at our office. The phone number is right there, 692-6656. You can also reach us at our office email address at admin@shererlaw.com, or you can reach me at sarah@shererlaw.com. It was great talking with you all today. I'm going to check the chat quickly. I'm going to stop the share right now and check the chat and see if we have any questions. It looks like we don't have any questions, so I'm going to stop this and have a wonderful afternoon.